Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the introduction. My Italian is not as good as Francis Reed, so I will not introduce my subject with talking Italian, although I understand quite well being here in Italy quite often, as you know, due to our activity. And Italy is our second country for our group. Usually, and 3 years ago, I came here to make a presentation on the name of the European Dairy Association, which I have the pleasure to be a president for the last 6 years. Angelo asked me to talk more about our group, and I said very clearly that it's a great pleasure for me to talk more about Lactalis. We are considered to be discreet. It is also sometimes important to explain what we do and also say a few things. As I have been talking after big cooperatives, I just want to say, yes, model is maybe different with the shareholders, but after all, we have the same customers. We are dealing with the same product. So you might find in my presentation things that have been said previously, and this is normal. We are a global player, so we're not acting only in one country, but after all, again, we have the same trends, we have the same customers, and we need to bring, and we do bring more or less the same answers. It's a pleasure, for me also to reinforce the fact that I'm working for a family group. Like many of you and many of my Italian friends here, it is the case. It's very particular due to our size that the LACTALIS Group is still owned by one family. It's the third generation. You have here the main steps of the development of our group. It was founded 85 years ago, and the third generation is now heading the group. Our president, Emmanuel Beignet, is the one who, compared to his father and grandfather, developed the group more internationally. For you here in Italy, you obviously remember two big steps. 2006, with the date was when we took over Galbani, and I see a few friends in the room that remember very well entering our group at that time. And obviously also 2011, with more focus on the media here in Italy regarding the takeover of Lactalis of Parmalat. So those very big steps are linked with Italy. So again, it's my pleasure to be here with you. One chart with our key figures. After all, this is not so important for us whether we are number one or it's not important. What we want to express here that is we are very diverse, and our diversity can be resumed with the fact that we are in big production. We have factories producing cheeses with 100,000 tons or whatever, big facilities. And also, we are processing 25 PDO cheese throughout France, but also throughout Europe, as we are present here in Italy or in Spain especially, and even now in Greece with the feta cheese. So this is our key figures. What I like more is to see and to express in that chart what has been the trend of the development of our group throughout the last 19 or 18 years. You can see that just before the new century, we were only 14,000 employees, and now we are over 80,000, and we multiply the turnover, which was at that time 4.5 billion to 18 billion. So tremendous growth due to some important acquisition, but this thing has to be noticed today. We are not even, this is the figures of 2017, we're going to be present in 50 countries. When I say present, that means that we have the milk collection, processing, and the rest of the chain to the consumers. We are present where our friends from Egypt and India has presented, and I believe also that could have made the same development that they did regarding their own country. This is the split also of our employees. That means also that being an international company compared to what we used to be when I entered the group 30 years ago, it's a great move in order to understand new ways of thinking, new ways of working, and to adapt ourselves with 80,000 people. It's a big challenge for all of us. Like Friesland Campina, and it was said before, we are covering all dairy products, and this is also the fact of many of us, but global players, and it gives us also advantage to respond to the demand of the countries, but also to respond to the demand of our consumers. This is the split. Obviously, you know also that on the other side, on the 5%, you have here in Italy Galbani, which is not only present in the cheese, as you know. This is the breakdown of our turnover. We are still very much present in Europe with more or less 60%, which is, after all, related also to the importance of consumption here and in our history. These things are moving, and I'm sure that if I have the opportunity to come in a few years, these figures will move out to outside Europe due to the fact that this is where also the demand is very present. Our company has grown and is still growing under our brands. All these brands represent more than 1 billion euro turnover per year. President is our French brand, and it has been shown in the first slide. Maybe you did not notice, but it was launched exactly 50 years ago, 68. 68 was an important date for the one that lived it in France, active with lots of social activities, but we launched this brand in 68. Obviously now in our portfolio we have Galbani and Parmalat, two Italian famous brands that are also part of our pillars and give us the opportunity to develop the group throughout the world. Galbani is exported over 120 countries, or maybe even more. Parmalat is present in all the 5 continents. I think this is also an important point to show that, yes, we are French, we are developing our group from France, but we are also helping each country where we are to develop themselves and to develop their brands throughout the world. We have also lots of brands. We are having multi-country brands, and it has been shown by the lady of Dupont that LACTALIS is present in Middle East. Ducat is the one from the region of southeastern Europe. Things like that are also very important for us in order to develop our activity. We are also having lots of brands. You can see here some brand that you know here in Italy, like Vallelata, which is not used outside Italy. But what is important is that we also cross and have some concept throughout the world that can be used by different brands. This shows, by the way, the variety of the countries where we are, and also the fact that we want to stick to the traditional brands and to the traditional production and to the traditional way of eating or drinking the dairy products. So now, what are, after what we presented, what are the new needs and where? Maybe I just answer, first of all, linked to what we have been doing in terms of acquisition recently, because this is also where now we have developed, and it's linked also to what are the needs, and this acquisition will be also giving us some developments throughout the world. United States, we developed and we bought a company also making ethnic products, which is a trend which is very important altogether in US, but not only in US. The 2 acquisitions in the chilled dairy sector with Stonyfield and recently a year ago with Siggy's in US is a very important trend, and Chile and other countries. Again, I want to say that this acquisition is a big challenge for us. It's an everyday challenge because now having every year 2 or 3 or 4 big acquisitions with big developments, this is also our target. And this is maybe why there are not so many of us that are on the stage like I am today, because our activity is really intense in bringing in the group all these people coming from outside and make the acquisition successful. Linked to this, you have this chart that you know from the surplus, I mean the milk surplus and milk deficit. Obviously, our development is linked to that. And it's clear that if we are in India, it's because there is a lot of milk. And we are also comparing this chart to what we have done. And all these colors are where the group is present. You can see that you can put the chart together, and you will see also why we are in these countries. In the mature markets, quickly, all these concepts, you know all this on the right-hand side. This is just the example that we do throughout the world. I was mentioning the Stonyfield in US, Rachel, which is made in UK. And in France, we are now launching some milk, which goes l'appel des prés, which is the appeal from the pasturing, and for giving some specification about 200 and more, not less than 210 days of pasturing for the cows. So you see, this is the trends that we have to answer, and organic is a big issue. Organic for the group is done not only in France, Europe, US, and throughout the world. From what you have presented, Mr. Choteau, previously, I just want to say that we all hope, and we need to hope that the demand and organic milk production will be compatible, and there will be no gap between demand and production. Otherwise, we could face a crisis in organic milk, which is not in the interest of the farms, neither in the interest of the market. So this is something that I want to add compared to what you presented. The demand is there, yes, but as the price is higher, you have also lots of farmers throughout the world, and we see it in US, where now today there's more difficulties with the organic milk, so we have to be careful on that. Nevertheless, the demand is there, and we have to respond, and this is what we do with our brands throughout the world. Again, GI is also a development that you know very well here in Italy, and this is something that is important for us. Again, other trends that have been mentioned, low lactose, new taste, functionality, simple ingredients, all these things have been said previously, and this is important. Here you have some product that will join us. We have announced recently that we will make the acquisition of the infant milk formula produced previously by Aspen. Aspen is a laboratory based in South Africa. And this will give us a possibility to produce infant milk formula in Mexico, in South Africa, and also in New Zealand. So that will give us another development in that field where we were only previously in France. One product that I like very much to show is this. That means that we are also developing concepts or products that are not familiar to our consumers, and this is something that I could go for. We have lots of examples like that in the group. Kefir is not a traditional drink in France, obviously, but we do it, and we have done things like that. So maybe we will bring some paneer. It will be more time to take to bring up paneer to France, but we try at least to do some cheese to cook, which is something that is not very familiar to our consumers. So this is something that concept that we want to bring throughout our main countries. For all this, never forget that we are a dairy processor, and our target is to get the best raw milk. Being in now 50 countries to collect milk, even though we have a big share of our supply which is made in France, we are facing those types of a way of collecting the milk, and this is pictures taken by your colleagues from throughout the world. So yes, we are a big group, but this is what we have to deal on an everyday basis. So I just want to say that it is not just like that we can process and have all these facilities throughout the world. This is the difficulties and the variety that we have. I could have shown also other farms that we work with. which are, for example, the one in US or even in Germany, where you have more than 1,000 cows. So we are working with all the models, and this is why also we are quite humble on the way we can handle these things in terms of responding to the demand of some consumers in the mature markets, that they ask for more transparency in the way they grow, the milk is produced and everything. This is our everyday life. So again, this is a big challenge. You know all these points. For those of you who are in charge of dairy companies here in this room, it is more or less when we enter not mature country or not very well developed to work on these issues. It has been presented by our friend from India, all the chain and all the difficulties that we have in the milk collection, but not in India. It's like that in many countries that we are facing today, and this is, you know, obviously, this is for us the key point, because 60% of our cost is also roughly coming from the milk and the quality of the milk. Another point that I wanted to mention also, and I will finish with this, we are facing external difficulties or external pressure that we have to work, all of us, not only Lactalis, but also all of us. First, our regulation regarding and place of our dairy sector and our dairy product with the plant-based product. It has been said also previously, the attacks of the vegans, but not only. I mean, also today, consumers want to understand what are the benefits of and the goodness of the milk. So this is something that we all expressed previously and that we are working on internally and externally in an active way. We are also very much attached of the origin labeling and all these topics that are going on around the table, at least in Europe, because sometimes we have to be careful to give really the right origin of and not to break the EU single market with having some nationalization of the labeling here or there. Again, there is a big trend, and you know that you maybe have in your mobile some app that can give you lots of views of the ingredients, or Yuka, maybe you know Yuka, that is developed throughout Europe also today, giving us some elements regarding the components of the products. Clean labeling is something that is very is a subject very important nowadays in mature market. We have to adapt ourselves. We have to give also the information to our consumers. Retail is obviously a big subject for all of us. It has not been said. The speaker after me will give an information regarding new ways of making the sales. But we are also very much pressed by retail, all of us. Retail is now living a new world also, so we have also to adapt. Most of our companies have grown with the development of the retail sector. It has been our case at least, and so it's important that we still continue to work. On the export market, which is important in France, where we are obviously, it's our main market, representing 20% of our turnover. We export something like 50% of the milk we collect. So obviously, we are very much attached to see how the free trade agreement are dealt at the EU level. I could go on many stories about the new trends, but what I want to say to you is being a global company and maybe seen like and the press sometimes said it's a very big, a huge company. No, it's a company, we still act very locally. We want to, and we need to be back to the local fundamental issues, and this is really the trend that we are following. There is no way of developing a company like ourselves if we just forget that the job is done here in Italy or in any of the 50 countries that we are present. We have very few expats in the group. Here in Italy, it's Italian people, and everywhere in the world, it's like that. So this is something that also I want to say, because if we want to understand the consumer needs and the consumer trends, which is our target after all to all of us, we need to have local people. Thank you for your attention.